Hey, family. I was just going live and it said I ran out of storage to record. So I had to stop the live that I just was doing and come back and, like fix it. I had to fix it and come back. So anyway, y'all know what it is. It's Kim Love Jones, certified life relationship coach. And I wanted to jump on real quick to talk to you all about the 5 behaviors that kill your chances of having a good relationship. So I'm going to give it a minute, give some people some time to jump on. And in the meantime, I'm going to share this on my Facebook page. And let me see. Hi, Sherelle. How are you, my love? Wait, I'm sharing this in my group. Love relationships and marriage. Because I'm trying to get it together. Want to talk? Hi, sweetie. I see you. I see you, Sherelle. How you doing? How you doing, my love? Say hello. You can say hello. Dang, nobody gonna bite you, baby. Ain't nobody gonna bite you. I just gonna give it like a little minute and give some people some time to get on. But I really want to talk to y'all tonight about, say hello, say hello. I see you watching. I want to talk to y'all tonight about the 5 things that's killing your chances of having a good relationship. A lot of times we just talk about, other people and what they're doing and all these other things. But sometimes I love you, baby. You know I love you, sis. I love you. A lot of times, we talk about what other people are not doing in relationships and how to find your soulmate and all these other wonderful things that I've talked about over the past couple of years. And here's my thing: if the perfect person was to come up to you today, are you ready? Right? Are you ready to have a great relationship? Are you ready to really, are you ready mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially? Like, are you ready? Are you ready to be in a great relationship? Do you have yourself together? Is your house in order? Right? And I don't mean just like your physical house, but I mean your whole house, like your temple, your mind, and all of this. Because what happens is, for a lot of us, right? And I know we don't realize sometimes the thing. Hi, Emmett, I see you. How are you? Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. A lot of times we, jump into these relationships and we're not mentally, emotionally, and spiritually ready for it, right? And sometimes we're not even financially ready for it. Because I know that women, and I'm, talking about my sisters only for this point. A lot of times my sisters will jump into a relationship thinking that the man is supposed to do like everything for her. Like, you could come in and you could be, your credit can be trash. You don't make enough money. You got a lot of things going on financially, right? And you expect that the man is supposed to show up and just assume and take on all the responsibility of everything that you got going on in your life. And I don't know where that thinking comes from, but I know that when I first met my ex-husband, we automatically knew that we were in this thing here together. It wasn't all him. It wasn't going to be all him. It was the both of us together building, right? And it was never even a question. It was never even a thought that came up in my mind, right? That he was just going to come in and just swoop in and just take over everything. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't raised like that because I saw my mom working, right? My mom worked and she took care of her children and she did all the things, right? To do what she had to do in order to take care of us. I was raised by, both my mom and my dad, but they weren't living in the same household. So I had rules when I went to my dad's house and I had rules when I was at home with my mom, right? But the point is that I never once for a second in my mind thought this man got swoop in, especially with the statistics being what they are. I'm going to come to your comment, Amy, because I want to read that. It looks good. But the statistics being what they are in the United States, period, like we're not set up financially in a way that we, everybody's making, six figures, $250,000, and better. And they could come in and put you in this 5-bedroom little mini Mac mansion and take care of everything. And you flossing in some new, ride, some new BMW, Benz, whatever. Like, I don't know where that thinking came from. I don't know who, came up with that, but it is in my head anyway. I think it takes two of you to make it happen. Unless, of course, you happen to meet somebody who is so financially well off. They're like, no, babe, I want you to stay home, take care of the kids, do whatever. I don't have any babies, but, they're so financially well off. And they're like, no, I want you to stay home and take care of the kids and we'll figure it out. That's a whole different, can of paint right there. Right. So, like, let's be clear. But I never once did it enter into my head. And I had a wonderful job when I was working. Did it ever enter into my head that my husband had to do this alone? No, we were a team. And that was what my mindset was from the gate. We're a team. We're going to raise these kids together. We're going to do everything together because that's what it takes in order to be in relationship, right? And sometimes, it doesn't take that. But in my head, that's what I felt like it took. And it was never a question in my mind, right? So some of the things that, people do in relationships that damage their chances of having one, is they have a real genuine fear of intimacy. They are afraid of allowing someone to get close to them. So that's my first one. You have a genuine fear of intimacy. If I allow you into my space, are you going to hurt me? Can I trust you? So even at the point of dating, right? It's like you got to kind of, you meet them and you see that their energy is they're not really being forthcoming. They're not really talking about anything. They're not really trying to get to know you more intimately. They're not sharing. You can feel that energy if you really sit down and you have a nice discussion with somebody over a cup of coffee, right? And so with that being the case, it could be like a little difficult to be in a relationship, a lot difficult. I'm sorry, not even a little bit difficult, but a lot difficult to be in a relationship with someone who has a genuine fear of intimacy, right? They can't, they don't want to be vulnerable. They're not sharing their feelings. And then slowly what that does is it sabotages the relationship. And I don't know if people are really clear about that, right? Being negative and always talking about negative things and not being positive, upbeat, and forthcoming. If you're not those things, then you damaging the chances of having a really, really good relationship, right? So it's important that if you do have a fear of intimacy, that you work on, overcoming that, maybe through therapy, maybe through coaching, maybe being a part of Mind Locking Your Love class, right? Which is what I really teach. I'm teaching about healing, learning to love yourself and then pour into others, right? And that is the most important part of all of it. Oh, let me sidebar for 1 second. Tomorrow, me and Najib Smith are going to be doing a radio show, and it's going to be at 8 p.m. tomorrow on Bars and Hoops Radio. It is the Protective Class radio show. It is going to go all the way down. It's going to be dope. And we're going to have a 3-time Emmy Award-winning hairstylist on that is going to be talking a little bit about self-care, self-love, and some of the things that she's done and how she got to the point that she's, that she is at in her life, right? So tomorrow's show is going to be absolutely amazing. And she is Lavette Slater, and she is dope. Right. I don't want to name drop on here about all the people's hair she's done. I'll let her do that tomorrow on the show, but it's going to be amazing. So I hope you guys watch and participate in that and call into the show if you have any questions, right? But sabotaging your relationship, because that's what a lot of people do. Let's just be clear. When people have a genuine fear of intimacy, they will find a reason to sabotage it. They will pick a fight. They will, argue about little things that don't even matter. They'll find something wrong, because they'll push you away, right? When they have a real genuine fear of intimacy, that's what people do. So if that is you, you might want to work on that, right? If you're afraid to let somebody get close to you and love you and treat you right, and somebody comes into your life and the first thing you do is get nervous down in the pit of your stomach because you really like them, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing all the time, getting nervous in the pit of your stomach, getting, butterflies when you see them. But in order for your relationship to really be good, if you want to be in a relationship with somebody that's good and healthy and they're trying to love you right, then there's a problem if the first thing you want to do is to pull back, right? And run in the opposite direction. Trust me, take it from me, been there, done that. Been there, done that. Wasn't ready, thought I was ready, and I'm going back many, many years. Thought I was ready, wasn't ready, got too close. I was like, pew, I am out of here, right? Because I know that we do it because I've done it. I know some people do. Not everybody, but some people do it, right? So the second part of that, one of the other 5 behaviors of killing your relationship is not knowing how to communicate with your partner. Right. So I want to, just before I go on to the next one, I want to read Emmett's comment. I want to read it because it looks really good and I want to put it up. It says, not having God be the center of your relationship. In doing that, it will be easier to navigate anything, any else that may and we will arise. Blessings and love always. Okay, Emmett. Yes. Hey, Telly Tell. I see you, boo boo. How are you, my love? How are you? That's my sissy right there. So the second of the 5 would be poor communication skills. We really, really got to work on becoming better at our communication. It's a surefire way of losing someone that could potentially be your heart's desire, right? Because when we do not know how to communicate well, I've said this many times before, your silence is violence in a relationship. I've said this many times before. Because your partner can't read your mind. They don't know when something is bothering you. And to be honest, if you're going to have a good relationship, you've got to learn how to communicate with your partner. You've got to learn to be open, right? So earlier we talked about the fear of intimacy and vulnerability, right? People not wanting, not allowing themselves to be vulnerable, because they're afraid, right? Well, this segues right into learning how to communicate, right? And I know that we don't just, throw up on people when we first meet them. But when you learn to communicate, you, and effectively, let me say that, effectively, because it's not just, let us be clear. Everybody be talking. Sometimes people ain't saying nothing. That's the truth. People be talking, ain't nobody saying nothing. Right? Because you could be all day just running the yap, right? But what are you saying to your partner? Are you being open? Are you being honest about how you truly feel? Are you giving them space? Are you creating space for them to be able to communicate with you? I know somebody, a good friend of mine, who was raised in an environment where their mother talked down to them all the time. And they ended up meeting and marrying someone who talked to them the same way that their mother talked to them. Now, it didn't make them feel good in the relationship. Even going back, years ago, the relationship wasn't going to work, right? Because ultimately, we all want to be loved and respected, but there's only so much that any one person can take. Right. And so I know the only reason why they accepted that, they spoke to me in depth, was because that's what they were accustomed to. They were accustomed to somebody yelling, screaming, acting a fool, and carrying on because they was raised with that. Their mother never made them feel good, never, spoke, in a loving way to them. So when they met their partner, they literally were okay with the way that their partner, talked to them. And so learning how to communicate your feelings, learning how to talk to your partner, not just, but not talking down to them, speaking to the king or the queen in them, is one way that you can avoid killing your relationship. And I know that a lot of people have a lot of pent up stuff, baggage from years ago, and we think we over it. Maybe you haven't been in a relationship in a long time, or maybe you're in a relationship now and it's always like, crazy within the relationship. Change the atmosphere, set the atmosphere, change how you deal with your partner, change how you love on them, right? And come, y'all both need to come to Jesus meeting, come together, and this is not what we want to do. We want to be better. And when you both make a decision about that, then it changes the game, it changes the dynamics, right? So learning to communicate is something that we absolutely have to do if we want to have a healthy relationship, right? The third thing is insecurity. Insecurity kills relationships. It kills it. A lack of confidence in who you are and how you show up in the world will kill your relationship. And this is real talk. Like, it's like being jealous, not allowing your partner to show up and be whoever it is that they are, their amazing and wonderful selves, right? That's problematic, right? Because you need someone who is secure within themselves, who has confidence in themselves. And the way that we show up needs to be the same way. Back in the day when I was married, one of the things that I knew that I was absolutely not going to do was act a fool over my husband or what my husband did or what he didn't do. I knew I wasn't going to do that. And even back then, in my much younger days, when I was in my 20s, in my heart of hearts, I said, listen, if whoever he wanted to be with, it wasn't nothing that I was going to do to stop him if that's what he wanted to do. So I wasn't out here losing my mind and trying to, finagle and manipulate and control the situation to try to make them be what I thought I wanted them to be, right? Make him be who I thought I wanted him to be. Because the one thing that I knew, even way back then in my early 20s, is you don't get to control anybody else. You do not get to control anybody else. The only one person you get to control is you. You get to control you. So if you're in a relationship and something happened and your partner cheated or they didn't cheat, whatever, and things are just crazy, whatever the situation is, listen, the only person you can control is you. And that's the truth. And I say to every person that is listening to this, even on the replay, if you're watching it on the replay, #replay, but real talk, I listen to people and people think that they can control the narrative. And the truth is they can't. Right? You got to show up confidently and comfortable in your own skin and who you are and how you show up in the world, how you render in the world. And you cannot worry about, you absolutely cannot worry about, right, what the next person is going to do. And that's the thing that frustrates people when they have real, genuine insecurity, because they think that they should be able to tell a person how to do and what to do and blah, 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 right? You begin to overanalyze things when you're insecure. You begin, even if your partner tells you something, you begin to internalize it because you don't feel good enough. And some of those things are relationship killers, right? It doesn't have to totally destroy a relationship, but they can be a problem eventually in the relationship, right? Especially if you're with someone and they constantly need reassurance as to who they are to you, right? That means that, sometimes we got to work on this stuff, because Anybody who's been in a relationship with somebody who has an insecurity understands that it's a constant, do you love me? Do you think I'm pretty? Oh, you looking at somebody else. And none of that is happening, but it's what they feel like is happening, right? So how do you address that? How do you deal with that? Right? That's what I'm teaching in my Unlocking Your Love class. And I got to tell y'all this, January the 21st through the 25th, I am hosting a free online workshop at 7:30 p.m. every night from Tuesday to Saturday. And what we're going to be discussing is different topics, but it is all about, and when I tell you all about, us getting to the love that we desire. It is the name of the workshop is Restore, Renew, and Rebuild. I want you guys to meet me on Zoom between the 21st and the 25th. I'm going to drop the link after this live so you guys can register, because you have to register for this event. And it is going like all the way down because we are in 2025. Oh, and one more thing. Wait, almost forgot to tell y'all, February, be looking for me to drop an in-person workshop. It is going absolutely down. I didn't just come up with it. I just got to secure. I can't secure the location until tomorrow. And trust me, you're going to be knowing about that. And you know, my in-person workshops are dope. Thank you, Tal. Look at my sis. Restore, Renew, and Rebuild. January the 21st through the 25th on Zoom. So that means no matter where you're watching from, you can be a part. You can be a part of this workshop that I'm doing for 5 days, y'all. 5 days, and I'm pouring into you all for 5 days because I think that it is time for us to move to the next level. It's time for us to matriculate upward. Yes, that part. So we restoring, renewing, and we are rebuilding. That's what we're doing, right? So let me go over this last one. This last bad behavior that kills your chances of being in a healthy, happy, good relationship. Listen to me. This is probably the most important one I am telling y'all about. Stop being a martyr. Stop being a martyr. Stop sacrificing who you are. Hey, Dre, I see you. Stop sacrificing who you are for the sake of a relationship. Emmett, I'm coming back to your comment. I got to get to it. But stop sacrificing what you need for the sake of a relationship. What you end up with is becoming bitter and exhausted. Because, hey, sissy, I see you, sis. Love you. You become bitter and you become exhausted because you're sacrificing all that you need for the sake of a relationship. And so, in addition to all of the other 4 things that I named, I think that this is the most important. And the reason why I think that this one, being a martyr for your relationship, doesn't work is ultimately, and I really mean this, you end up angry, you end up bitter, and it doesn't work, right? And part of the reason why it doesn't work is because you end up not only sacrificing yourself, you're doing things for the sake of somebody else's happiness, and you're not happy. The reason why it doesn't work is because it's not rooted in what you need, and a relationship is about the 2 people that are in it, right? And so it's one thing to be kind, loving, and generous, right? And be caring, right? It's one thing to do that for your partner. That's hands down, no question. That's what we all need to be, right? But the issue is when you do too much and you're not happy. And I know happy is a feeling. It's an emotion. I'm not really talking about that. Where you've given to the point that you are exhausted. Right? Hey, Reva, I see you, baby. I see you. I love you, sis. I love you. Right? Hey, Brother Allen, I love you. I see you. I see you watching. Thank you for watching. Right? So, like, When you become a martyr for your relationship, you don't set up boundaries. And if the boundaries are crossed, then you just move the goalpost to accommodate the fact that they crossed over the boundary. Like when you're a martyr in your relationship, you're doing everything for the relationship, and the relationship is not doing anything for you, right? And if you want your relationships to work, you've got to, number one, be able to open up and say what it is that you need to say to your partner. You need to be honest. And you also need to do a check in with yourself, right? To make sure that you're not out of order in that. Like the fear of intimacy doesn't work. I've already discussed that. You've got to be and learn how to be a better communicator, right? So you gotta learn how to not only open up and not be afraid to be vulnerable, but then the second part is you have to practice learning how to communicate with your partner, learning their love language and them learning yours, right? Because we're talking about the fact that we don't want to kill our chances of having a great relationship. And so, in order to do that, in order to be where you need to be, you need to communicate how you feel to your partner. You can't just say, oh, okay, do whatever just for the sake of saying I have a relationship. That's unacceptable, right? And we don't want to be in relationship with somebody who does not respect our boundaries, but we've never told them what our boundaries were. It's not right. And so, to be honest with y'all, like if you want a healthy relationship and you want it to have some longevity and you want to, create this beautiful space for you and your partner to build, then here's what I need to tell you. Be honest, be open, stop being insecure, know that they love you and love them right back. And if they're insecure, I'm going to tell you honestly, y'all probably going to need some therapy, because jealousy and all of that stuff and the lack of confidence doesn't work in a healthy relationship. So you might need to work on that. Y'all might need to come see me for some good old one-on-one coaching, right? And then, over analyzing everything. You can't do that in a relationship. Everything is not about you. There are some things that are going on inside of your partner that they need to deal with. Right? Understanding what your needs are and expressing them is vitally important if you're going to be in a healthy and in a happy relationship. It just does not work where you don't open up your mouth and you just expect that people are going to treat you away. Hi, Lynn. I see you, baby. How are you? It just doesn't work that you think that your partner is going to understand, right? Like all of the dynamics that are going on in you, and just show up knowing how to treat you. You do your relationship a disservice when you don't speak your truth. Listen, if you want success, then you've got to learn how to talk to your partner. You have got to learn how to speak life to them, but you've also got to be willing to have hard conversations, even when it hurts, because you don't get to happily ever after, or even an ever after, right? But we want happily ever after without expressing to them what it is that needs to be said, because it's something that concerns you. Right? Sandra says, wait a minute. Sometimes you communicate, but they don't want to hear it. Agreed. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about women's intuition, women's wisdom, right? Because men don't always want to talk. Right. And I'm only using because you said sometimes you communicate, but they don't want to hear it. Right. So, Sandra, I'm going to stick with that from a female perspective. Right. You got to use wisdom of how and when to say what it is that you need to say. What happens a lot of times in women, I got to get back to the other comment too. What happens a lot of times is we expect that they're going to be ready to have the conversation when we're ready to have the conversation. Sometimes you may need to step back, walk away, cooler heads, let cooler heads prevail, right? When it's something that you really want to say. And sometimes, for real, we just got to pray and ask God to show us how to speak to them about that thing. Because sometimes we just want to go in and be like, listen, and men want to do it too, right? Men want to do it too. And they feel like sometimes they could just say whatever comes up, comes out. But can I talk to you about a woman's wisdom? When a woman seeks God, I'm telling you, he answers. The problem is he may not answer us in the time frame that we want him to answer us, and we'll take matters into our own hands. But when you know that they're not up for the conversation, there is a very nice way to say, baby, we're going to have to come. We're going to table it for now. It's okay. It's okay. We need to table this for now, but we're going to circle back to this later because this is important. And I'm going to tell you that it is important for me. And I need to hear it. And I know some people are like, Kim, ain't nobody doing that. I'm going to get it out right then and there. No, I need you to exercise some wisdom. And I need you to understand that in the heat of something may not be the best time to say what it is that you feel like you want to say. Right. And I know in a perfect world, Kim, that would work. I got it. But in a perfect world, we should always be seeking God's face before we open up our mouth, especially when it comes down to something that is detrimental or could potentially be detrimental in your marriage or in your relationship. Right. Because what we're trying to do is build and not destroy. Right? Wisdom and patience. There you go. All right. I got to put that up there. Wisdom and patience. I'm going back to Emmett's comment because I want to. Okay. So Emmett says that's me. Second thing, being able to communicate with each other on everything that they are able to take in at that moment. If you can't talk to one another, will kill the relationship and it will happen quietly. Absolute. Emmett, you hit the nail on the proverbial head. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you need to be able to talk to one another. Right? It can't just be like, oh, we just going to hang out. We're going to go out. We're going to go to Walmart. We're going to go shopping. We're going to do whatever, and never have any real conversation and dialogue. Never be open and never be transparent with one another. It doesn't work like that. It really doesn't. It really, really doesn't. And we got to use wisdom. Right? We just can't fly off the handle, get upset, in the moment. I know people do it all the time. But if you're in a marriage or in a relationship and already, right, then you have to be consciously aware that, okay, so the question I would ask, is that working for us? Me just saying whatever I want to say out the gate. Does that work for us? Is that working? Because I know that that's what we've been doing, but is it netting us the results that we want in our relationships? Because, yeah, anybody can fly off the handle. That's easy. That's easy. Like, let it flow, let it fly, like, let it rip, right? But it takes operating with a level of emotional intelligence to understand that's not always how you need to approach your partner when it comes down to doing things. Period. Right? Period. We need to be consciously aware, men and women, about how we show up in relationships. And here's the question. What's the end game? What do you want to see happening in your relationship? What do you want to have happen? Do you see your relationship as being happy? Do you see you and your companion, your man, your husband, your wife? Do you see yourself riding into the sunset together, right? Until death do us part, right? If you see, right, that, then if that's the end game, then how are you going to get from where you are right now to where it is that you want to be. And people need to think about that before you open your mouth and say something that could potentially destroy your relationship. And I'm not telling you to be a doormat to anybody. I'm telling you for real, to go to the Lord, seek the Lord, go to him in prayer about everything, how to deal with everything. And I know everybody don't want to hear that because Kim, you being, I ain't talking about religion, baby. I'm talking about a relationship. Lord, what do you want to see me do from here? How do I handle this? And I promise you, when you seek God's face for these things in your life and you don't go outside of your marriage and start blah, blah, blah with everybody else, but you take it to the Lord, he's going to show you how to work through it. And people don't have the answers anyway, so that's a whole nother subject, though. I ain't going to get into that. So, Reva, I'm coming to your comment. Communication is the key. Today we went to the laundry. Husband playing a game on his phone. I'm trying to move laundry from washer to dryer. He was in the way. I said, move, blah, blah, blah. He caught feelings of disrespect. I had to apologize. I didn't want to disrespect, but I flew off the handle. I could have said it in a different manner. Absolutely, Reva. Absolutely. Absolutely. But then he might have been upset. But the patience that we need to exhibit sometimes when they're getting on the last and only nerve we got, girl, they be sitting on that nerve sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Got you. I got it. And we all make mistakes and we all have to go back and humble ourselves and say, you know what? I was dead wrong. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be more consciously aware not to just let things fly out of my mouth. We all make mistakes. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is perfect. Nobody is perfect. So, but if you want to have a good relationship, you always humble yourself, right? Always, right? I can see, like I don't even want to be in a relationship with somebody, and I hurt them like that, and they don't say nothing to me because now they're killing our relationship because they're hurting and they're not telling me that they're hurting. I don't ever want to lock my partner out, my husband out, and create an environment where he doesn't feel safe enough to come to me because I am his peace. I should be his peace, right? And so if that be the case, then I always need to keep the doors and the lines of communication open, right? Always. Like, why am I going to allow my husband to not be loved, nurtured, and cared for by me, his wife, right? Why am I? No. I'm not leaving the door open. I'm not trying to get an enemy no way in to my house. And I cannot leave the door cracked for somebody else to be like, oh my God, I can't believe she treated you like that. No, baby, we're not doing that, right? And so when you think about, like, it creates insecurity in your partner, right? Because the partner, I mean, everybody make mistakes, but I'm just saying, right? Like, they don't treat me nice. Oh, they're not loving me. Oh, it creates a whole bunch of stuff when we don't communicate well with one another, when we do not learn the art of even saying, I'm sorry, right? So, Emmett, you said, and hold on. And what you said about coming back to it was so true, because sometimes your companion can't handle everything you want to say to them at that moment. But if you do it in love when you come back, yes, that's it. That's it right there. The acceptance would be better received. Right. Absolutely, Emmett. Absolutely. Right. Because I remember having a conversation with someone and I was upset. And they thought I was upset with them. And I was like, this ain't even got nothing to do with you. Right? This don't have nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with me. I'm having a meltdown right now. And all I need you to do is hold space for me to have my meltdown. And they didn't know. They thought I was talking like I was crying and upset because it was them. No. No, it's not anything you're doing. I'm reconciling some stuff within myself. And a lot of times you sit down and have a conversation and people will take it personally, like, you did something to them. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's not. Like, sometimes the only way that you are going to work through a personal issue is if you love somebody enough and it makes you open up to the possibility, like, you gotta go through this process. I had to go through it. And it's only when you love somebody so deeply and you feel safe around them that you will even begin to open up like that. You know what I'm saying? But it's not always about you. It's about some things that we all need to work out within ourselves that you cannot work out outside of a relationship. But men, in real talk, have been conditioned. You know what I'm saying? They've been conditioned that when a woman starts to talk, they automatically get on defensive, like, oh, she about to bust me in my head to the white meat. Like, no. You know what I'm saying? You might be the catalyst for this coming up in me, but you are not the reason why this is coming up in me. And so we also have to determine that as well when we're having these conversations. Right. And this is real talk, because a lot of times it looks like, I want to blame my partner for everything that my partner did. But no, what your partner is doing for you in that moment is a mirror holding up a mirror to you. And your behavior is not good. Right. And or you feel what are they triggered? Right. It triggers something in you. That's the word I was looking for. And because you are triggered, right, you may not understand that because it's triggering you. The trigger for you is to help you to deal with who you are. It may not have anything to do with them. It's just something that happened in your childhood, something that happened, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, right? And it's triggering you to behave a certain way. It doesn't mean that it's the partner's problem. It is your problem. It is your problem to deal. Why am I angry? Why is it that every time I hear this, it angers me down in the city of my soul? Why do I feel like that? Right? Wait, if you sit with yourself long enough in prayer, I promise, if you sit with yourself long enough in prayer, you'll figure out that the reason why that's triggering you is something that happened to you whenever ago, but long enough ago that it really shouldn't be bothering you, but you didn't even know it was still a problem. And now it's triggering you. And if you sit with it and you realize that it's something that you have to deal with within yourself, you'll be a better partner for it, right? Because that's the point of the relationship. I mean, in case y'all didn't know, right? It's so that in this relationship, I am growing. I am growing through it. I am becoming. And it's because I have this relationship and this safe space, right? And I have somebody that I feel comfortable and comfortable enough to open up my heart and sit and share this with them, because I was triggered. But what's triggering me? Why does that make me feel a little sad? It's not a bad thing all the way. And when you realize it's because you need to grow in that area, everything begins to shift and change. And so I forgot one, y'all. I forgot one. Another way to tear up your relationship, to kill a good relationship, is to try to control everything. That's another way. I forgot. I don't know why I said that. That's another way. I have it written down. I'm looking, but I missed it. It went right over my head. Another way to damage a really good, healthy relationship is to have this insatiable need to try to control the narrative, right? To be afraid that things will get out of control, so you try to control everything. And the truth is, you don't get to control anybody but yourself. And when you master self-control, when you become self-aware, when you become self-conscious of how you show up, right? When you do those things, You are better for it. You do not get to control other people. And the worst thing that you can do to the person that you profess to love, the worst thing that you can do is not accept them for who they are and where they are, especially when they're in crisis, especially when they're going through something, right? So you can't micromanage the people that you say you love. You have to accept them as they are and learn that you get to love them where they are. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense, because we are not talking about people who are perfect. We're talking about people that had experiences long before they ever met you. We have people who didn't have great relationships with their mothers and their fathers. They didn't have great relationships growing up in school. They were bullied. They were picked on. All of these little different things have come into play. And some guys, and this is the truth, become cops so that they can bully the bullies. Right? So they got stuff going on, and I just use police officers, but it could be correction, right? It could be anything. Anybody where a person has power, any type of career where they have a lot of power, right? Because they want to control the narrative. You don't get to control people. You get to love them. You get to show up for them every day. You get to try to make their light, their lives a little brighter, make their day a little brighter. But you don't get to tell them how to show up and how to render in the world. You get to love them through their process, whatever that process is. And their process doesn't have to look like your process. But once we learn to love, respect, and honor who a person is, we make better partners. We become better people, because that's what most of us want. We want to be accepted and loved. The only problem is we don't understand that other people want to be accepted and loved as well. And I don't know how that's even a possibility, but it is what it is. I don't know why we can see certain things for ourselves and don't give that same thing to other people. It's called mercy, and it's called grace. That's what it's called. It's called, I know you messed up yesterday and I wanted to slap you upside the head. I know, but I forgive you. I forgive you, and I let that thing go. And I forgot about it, and I ain't going to worry about it. I'm not bringing it up no more, because we don't need that in our lives. We need to love one another, right? And I know sometimes I can sound a little Pollyanna-ish. I know I do. Like Pollyanna, but that's the only thing. I'm telling you, the only way to make it work and make it last is that. So I had a gentleman say to me the other day, came in my good old inbox, because you know how they do. How you gonna be telling people about relationships and you ain't in one? And I was like, you toxic. You just toxic. Y'all gotta pray for me, because I need Jesus sometimes. But he's just toxic. He's just toxic. So let me say this. The reason why I can talk to relationships is because I've been married before and I failed miserably. I didn't do things right. And y'all not gonna believe this, but I believe that the world spinning on its axis was around me. I had a me attitude, and I didn't understand what love was. And it wasn't until I got into a deeper relationship with God. I said relationship, not religion, right? It wasn't until I got into a deeper, more profound relationship with God that I began to see who I was and how I was showing up in my relationships. And I realized that, Kim, you ain't always right. Oh, that's a surprise, right? It was a surprise to me. I didn't know it at the time, y'all. I'm serious, because I was like, no, because that. And I was giving everybody the business. You wasn't coming up in here trying to do nothing unless you was going to get the business. And then God calmed my heart down. And he began to show me myself. And he began to change me. And he began to shape me and mold me. And I began to surrender my old self. And I asked him to help me. Because I didn't want to surrender. I wanted to hold on to the things that made me feel powerful. And as I began to grow in God, I realized that my true power was in my not fighting back and understanding that the battle was not even mine. And while I know I can get angry and I can, have, my moments still to this day, I really don't desire to try to break anybody down with my words. I really desire to ask God to help me to be able to see them through the lens that he sees them. And that changed the way that I do business. Because even when they hurt me, they're still children of God. And I still got to treat them like they're precious, whether I like to or not in that moment. And Lynn says, I'm guilty of holding a grudge too long. Girl, and I would talk about it for like 6 months, Lynn, if you did something to me. I promise I would be talking about that thing. Girl, you play too much. Listen, I would hold on to that thing as if somebody came in here and robbed my house. I promise. It was crazy. And then I just didn't desire that anymore. But I had to just keep asking God, for real, y'all, to change me. Because I promise I thought that the world was spinning on its axis because of me, because it was all about Kim. What you talking about? Lord Shabbat, it's the way I want things. It's me. I'm going to control everything. I was a nut out of my mind. I had more game than the NBA, child. If it wasn't my way, I forget. My ex-husband used to say that I forget what basketball player. He said, if it ain't your way, some basketball player, he was, referencing in reference to me, And I'm only saying this because I know I talk about relationships a lot as it pertains to just, sometimes I talk about soulmates and all this other stuff that I talk about on here. But here's what I need you all to understand. I said I'm not talking about relationships anymore. I'm over it. Because what I realize that people need more than anything else in the world is they need to heal their souls. We need to get our lives and our heads and our hearts in alignment with what God is telling us to do and who he's telling us to be, how he wants us to show up. And that requires me to lay my will down. And I'm not telling you to be a martyr for your relationship. I'm not telling you to deal with people when you meet them who don't know how to be intimate with you, who don't allow themselves to be vulnerable. I'm telling you to practice and learn how to be a better communicator. Understand that relationships are going to be hard conversations and sometimes a lot comfortable in things that you don't want to hear about yourself. That part. I'm saying that you'll be wanting to do things your way when you get into a relationship. And you think that your way is the better way, and you don't even give your partner, male or female, right? Because talking about husbands and wives, you don't even give them an opportunity to express what it is. You don't try to help them. You don't do anything. So you sabotage. Hey, Redonia. Hi, my love. I see you. So you sabotage. You sabotage. You won't help them because you are angry because they won't do what you want them to do. I've seen it. And so if I can't control it, if I'm not helping them, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that, blah, 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 blah. You don't want to reassure them, and you don't want to speak to the king or the queen in them because you want to manipulate the situation. I'm telling y'all. So when somebody asked me the other day how I'm going to talk about religion, they act like I just came out the room or something, like I never did nothing, like I've never experienced anything, like I've just been sitting here in the house for, all of my life. I ain't telling y'all my age. I play too much. But you understand what I'm saying? Like I've never had the opportunity to learn about myself, who I am. Right? And so I can't speak to nothing in their mind. And that's a lie from the pit of hell. Because I am anointed to do what I do. And that's why I'm going to invite y'all one more time. January the 21st to the 25th, 7:30. You got to register for it. I am doing a restore, renew, and rebuild workshop for 5 days at 7:30 p.m. It's free. 7:30 p.m. on Zoom. You can join from all over the country because I deal with people from all over the country, right? And then I'm also going to be having an in-person workshop, right, coming up in February, and I'm excited. I'll have the location tomorrow, right? And I'll be able to do the flyer for that. And for all of my local folks in the tri-state area, y'all will be able to come to that. It's going to be dope. Yeah, so I want y'all to get ready. And then I want y'all to listen to me tomorrow night as me and Mr. Najib Smith are tearing up the radio station while we are sitting there talking to a 3-time Emmy award-winning hairstylist. But y'all know I'm going to go in because while I'm not going to be asking her personal questions, I want to ask her how she deals with the stars, right? And I want to talk to her about, how she shows up and how she renders in this world, right? Yeah, it's going to be dope, Telly Tell. It's going to be, I love you too, Redonia. You know I love you, sweetheart. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm so excited. And that's tomorrow night at 8 p.m. So y'all going to have to watch on Bars and Hoop Radio. I'm going to be going live on my cellular phone. As my mama would say, my cellular. I'm going to be having my cellular phone sitting there so y'all will be able to watch me and her dialogue back and forth. And Najib, y'all hear him off camera because he don't want to be on camera. But that's all right. We praying for him. We praying for Naj. We are. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lynn. I appreciate that. I really do. But that's the truth. Like, that's my story. Like, there's so much more to it. But that's my story. That's my story. My story is I haven't always been right. I didn't always have it together, nor do I have it together now. But today I choose. Today I choose. I've chosen before, and every day I got to get up in the morning, Lynn, real talk. And I got to choose to try to do better than I did yesterday. I be telling people, look up in the dictionary hot mess, and you're going to see a picture of me sitting there like that. Because I'm a work in progress, honey. Because I'm a work in progress. That's it. So listen, guys, I thank you for watching. I hope that you all join me tomorrow at 8 p.m. on Bars and Hoops Radio. I'm going to be streaming live from Facebook. Me, Najib, and Lavette Slater. And yeah, share this video out with people. Share it out. Share it out with your friends. And thank you. Thank you for watching. I love y'all like I love some good old fried chicken. And y'all know I loves me some fried chicken. For real, for real, for real. Y'all have a good night. Love y'all.